industry job may lay in the balance.
There's just so much work on these models. They're so tedious, just little bits and pieces. I do not have any job offers yet, but I have companies that have been interested. They're looking for interior design students, which is great for me.
My color scheme, I did a lilac silver, which is a silver with kind of a purple hue to it. That's for the body color. And then for the roof, I have a crystal white pearl. To be honest with you, when I was first thinking of colors, I was thinking of choosing maybe a darker color for the car. We discussed going a different route with the colors and going a little bit lighter to give it more of a youthful feel, and that's kind of where I took it. I'm pretty confident with the colors. I think it'll turn out pretty nice. The best outcome of this sponsorship through GM, at the end of the presentation, if they were to offer you a job, I think that would be a culmination of just everything you've worked so hard for the past 4 years. But there's not a whole lot of jobs, so it makes it very competitive. Last night I went to bed at probably like 4:30, and I had to wake up at 7:30. I'm pretty tired right now, and you really have to be at the top of your game. So we'll see what time has to tell.
Coming up,
Getting closer.
China has her audition.
So what are you going to play for me today?
John Manugian students present their designs to GM.
You've got a line going up in the rear, there's a line going down at the front. It might look a little bit like it's broken.
And Tyree Guyton paves the street with shoes. "50 years ago, Detroit was one of the richest cities in America and a magnet for artistic talent in almost every field, including automotive design.
I went to school here. I grew up in Detroit. I started General Motors in the mid-'70s when the company ruled the world.
To find someone to cry on their shoulder.
Due to the economic situation back in 2008, 2009, as the corporation downsized, as many divisions were going away, my job went away.
Like to give demands to someone.
The last couple years when they declared bankruptcy were probably the most gut-wrenching times of my life. To all the people that were dislocated, lost their jobs, it was horrendous. Now is an opportunity to rebuild it from the ground up and do it right and be competitive and do all the right things to make those companies strong again. I'd like to have a few words with you before the GM people get here. You're going to be graduating here soon. I want to get you all jobs. So keep your ideas succinct to the point, and then we'll cross the finish line at 1,000 miles an hour.
Today, after 4 months of hard work, Manugian students will present their final designs to the GM critics. This moment could make or break their careers.
With each of the sponsored projects, a corporation will come in this case it was General Motors. Dan Gifford and Mark Tarling are both professional car designers at GM Design staff.
The assignment we gave the students for this particular project was to design a car for the Y generation. It's around the 18 to 29 mark. They are a part of the Y generation. It's really a car for themselves.
I wanted this thing to be the racing moped of the truck world.
The fact that CCS is actually located in central Detroit, that it's very close to a lot of the big automotive companies, I think is a huge benefit. But on the assumption these guys want to get jobs in the industry, yes, this is a huge advantage.
In fact, if they perform well, there's definitely a possibility that they'll be working up the street at GM in the next 6 months.
Don't get it too complicated because you've got a line going up in the rear, there's a line going down at the front. They're not really tied together at any stage.
Right.
So it might look a little bit like it's broken, right? Like it's going to come apart when it goes over the road.
Jason, you're up next.
The big idea for my project is to develop a vehicle for the Y generation that is not solely for one type of person, but for the whole generation.
You have a classroom of 14 people that are going after only so many jobs, and it's stressful. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on us.
This is 3 different interiors: the performance interior, the adventure interior, and then the final high fashion. Then at the end, you have your customized vehicle that's personalized to you.
Let's just look at the board for a second. You got all this great information, and it looks like trying to put the Lord's Prayer on the head of a pin. You know, it needs to be like 3 times that size so that when Mark and Dan walk up, if you weren't standing here, they could see in an instant what it was you were trying to convey.
You know, your whole idea is to benefit the customer by allowing them to choose what they want at the dealership. And both of your interior shots are black with a little bit of trinkets that are colored differently. My challenge to you, make the difference between them greater.
You really took on a very, very difficult assignment in trying to generate the 3 different levels, and you never really convinced me what the differences were and why. Matt, you're up next.
GM asked us to develop a car for the Y generation, and I decided to go with this guy who's super socialite, loves to entertain his friends, loves to be around his friends. All that culminated into what you see now, which is the final design. Working with the companies coming in does lead to jobs and internships, and that's the reason why we work so hard. For the interior, it needed to capture a very social mood and emotion. Playing off was like club lounges and the lighting, colors that you see within those types of settings and rooms.
I think you've done a really great job with this. It looks very modern, the way you'd articulate like an electrically driven vehicle, because you don't need the big air intakes for the combustion engine.
That was sort of the idea behind the front end, was to give it more an efficient feel, since it is a much larger vehicle.
I mean, even the element that we know the reclining seat is not going to get through the regulations, whatever. But the fact is that you know fully you could put in conventional seats here, it wouldn't detract from the theme. But you've done a great job. You looked at Chevy, you looked at the customer, you've tuned it, and everything down to just the basic color choices and the refined details.
The color scheme is great.
Oh yeah, it's a great piece of work. You should be very pleased with yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Appreciate it, John, most of all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All in all, the kids came up with some fantastically cool ideas. What was really interesting for us is that a lot of them came up with electric vehicles, and that's obviously important for us because we've been looking for concepts really pushing to the future, such as the Envy concept, and that's a vehicle that's actually autonomous, and it's designed for big urban sprawls, lots of vehicles, and these things actually talk to each other wirelessly and negotiate themselves around the city while people can still be doing their day-to-day working while they're on their commute. And gives a lot of people means of mobility, such as the elderly and the disabled. And it's this really breakthrough thinking and visionary thinking that we're after in our new hires for GM.
While the CCS students will have to wait to find out if the designs were impressive enough to land them a job, 3 miles from the Heidelberg project in Midtown, Tyree's a few days away from the opening of his new installation, Street Folk. When it's all done, the street will be paved with 10,000 shoes.
I love working outdoors because I want the element to help in that whole process of me creating artwork. I am going to encourage people to walk through the shoes. I'm going to see if we can get folks to drive over some of the shoes. That's what we do in life. We have a tendency of stepping on people. No respect. That's part of the message. That's why I want to create this installation. In art school, I was told that if you're going to be an artist, you need a subject. So the community has been my subject.
This work is going to evoke a conversation. And maybe through that conversation, we can look at new possibilities and new ways of being and new hope. Change is good.
These shoes are all telling stories. It just talks to you.
It's a metaphor for Detroit. It's every walk of life, big shoes, little shoes, well-heeled shoes, no-heeled shoes. Detroit has a long road to walk.
Just seeing all of the people out in the street in the middle of the afternoon, people of all ages and colors, and it's just an energizing thing for the city, for the neighborhood, and it's creative.
One thing I can say about creativity and the power of art, it comes in when everything else has faded away. And all of a sudden, you got people using their imagination to visualize their way out of this. You have to become a creator.
Street Folk was meant to be up for only a month, but it received so much public attention, it was moved to a permanent location a few blocks away from the Heidelberg project.
I've been transformed as a result of this artwork and can witness to the power of art in our everyday lives. If you want to be a part of Detroit's resurgence, get on board.
Coming up.
A big scholarship is riding on this. It means a lot because I don't have any money.
China Leitner, today's audition at Wayne State University will prove whether or not she's got what it takes.
My grandmother, she graduated from here, so the expectations are high, and like I have something to prove. She bends backwards to help me. The least I could do is play my very best and make her proud. I am nervous, but I'm trying to get control of my nerves. Going through college auditions are a lot more stressful than my usual performances. The professors are usually very intimidating. A big scholarship is riding on this. It means a lot because I don't have any money. Getting closer. If I don't get this scholarship, then I pretty much won't go to college.
Well, welcome to Wayne State University. So, China, you're auditioning for music education?
Yes.
And do you play in any other outside ensembles?
Just the Sphinx Ensemble.
The Sphinx, well, that's fine. Okay, so what are you going to play for me today?
The Haydn Trumpet Concerto.
Okay, excellent.
I'm very proud of China. I'm very proud of the choices she's making, the person she's growing into. I'm watching the child transform into this beautiful, beautiful young woman.
There's this part where you're supposed to show off in the piece, and I showed him all right. I could have did better. I just let my nerves get in the way.
Good. You have a beautiful tone, some nice playing. Sometimes at the phrase endings, you have to watch your intonation. Now, I saw you adjust. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So that's something you need to be cognizant of in the future. Okay, good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good hearing you.
Hey, baby. Hi, Granny.
You did great, honey.
You're biased. How did I really do?
You did good. You did good, actually.
On the hard parts, I did.
But you kept on going. That's the important thing. You kept on going.
I feel better now. Right. So even if I did mess up, he may say, well, she has potential, she has stage presence, and he may add all that up and still give me money and accept me.
Art emerges out of struggle, and no one knows that better than the people of Detroit. As artists, young and old, sift through the rubble of the city, they're uncovering the raw material they need to reinvent it. A blue-collar town with a strong artistic sensibility, style, and a voice all its own. And with every step forward, a new voice emerges.
I got into Wayne State.
I got a job at one of the big auto companies here in Detroit, and I'm really excited to start work and see how it is to actually do it for money now.
We're the change agents. Art's saving the city right now. Art is saving the day.